when my daughter was dying in the ICU. My husband signed papers to stop her treatment. Then my first love suddenly wired me $5 million. I thought he was my salvation until I realized things weren't that simple. My daughter, Emily, was lying in the ICU. The doctor had just told me she only had a few hours left. If all the fees weren't paid tonight, treatment would stop. My hands were shaking as I took out my phone and called my husband, Ryan. It rang for a long time before he picked up. On the other end was deafening music and a woman laughing. Ryan, Emily, my voice was hoarse. Tracy, his voice was cold, cutting through the music. I already told you. Give it up. I froze. She's only 6. I almost screamed. She still has a chance. A chance? Ryan laughed. The sound was like a knife. Tracy, be realistic. Even if she survives, she'll be a burden. A lifetime of medication. A lifetime of hospital visits. Can we afford that? A chill ran through my entire body. She's your daughter. That's exactly why I made this decision, he said flatly. Sign the papers. Let her suffer less. The call ended. I stood outside the ICU. The white lights in the hallway made me dizzy. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe a father could do this. I ran to the hospital's security office and begged them to show me the surveillance footage. The guard gave me a sympathetic look and pulled up the video. 3 days ago, Ryan had been at the hospital. On the screen, he was wearing a suit, calm and composed. He walked into the doctor's office, shook hands with the doctor, picked up a pen, and signed a document. The doctor put the papers away. They shook hands again. I saw the title clearly. Consent to withdraw treatment. Dated 3 days ago. That meant while I was desperately trying to raise money, begging everyone I knew, my husband had already decided to let our daughter die. I rushed back to the ICU. When the attending physician saw me, his expression changed. Earlier, he'd told me, there's still hope. Don't give up. Now his face was cold. Ma'am, he said, since the family has signed the consent, we recommend switching to palliative care. Please prepare yourself. Prepare myself. Emily was still unconscious, her fingers twitching occasionally. Just yesterday she'd whispered, Mommy, I want ice cream. I grabbed the doctor's sleeve. Money! I'll find the money. Please. Just wait. He pulled his arm away. The system has already received the withdrawal notice. We can't continue aggressive treatment. Those are the rules. And he walked off. I dug through my bag. The only thing of value I had left was my wedding ring. I ran to a pawn shop on the street corner. The man behind the counter picked up the ring and held it up to the light. Tiny diamond. He smirked. Settings badly worn. $300. 300? It's worth at least 5,000. My voice was shaking. Take it or leave it. He pushed it back toward me. That's the condition it's in. I looked at his mocking face and clenched my teeth. 300. I'll pawn it. He counted out 3 bills and tossed them onto the counter. The ring was dropped into a small box like a piece of trash. I ran back to the hospital with the $300. The cashier glanced at it. Ma'am, your outstanding balance is $87,000. 300 isn't enough. I collapsed to my knees outside the ICU. I couldn't even cry. I just knelt there, over and over saying, please, save her. A nurse pulled me up. Ma'am, please calm down. You're disturbing other patients. I could hear the steady beeping of the machines. I could hear my daughter's faint breathing. Then my phone rang. A text message. From the bank. Your account has received a transfer, $5 million. 00. I stared at the number. 7 digits. $5 million. Sender, Lucas Grant. A name I hadn't seen or spoken to in 6 years. My first love. The money came too fast. So fast it scared me. 10 minutes after the transfer, my phone rang again. An unknown number. I answered. Tracy. Lucas's voice was exactly as I remembered, low, steady, no extra emotion. I'm downstairs at the hospital. I've brought a medical team up. Emily will receive the best treatment. I couldn't say a single word. 5 minutes later, the elevator doors opened. Lucas walked out in front, wearing a dark gray coat, his face unreadable. Behind him were 4 doctors in white coats and 2 nurses pushing carts packed with equipment. The attending physician hurried over, his face pale. Mr. Grant. He held out his hand. We've received the notice. We'll fully cooperate. Lucas didn't shake his hand. He looked straight at me. Tracy, this is Dr. Evans, one of the top pediatric ICU specialists in the country. From now on, he's taking over Emily's care. Dr. Evans nodded at me. Ma'am, we'll do everything we can. They swept into the ICU like a storm. The original doctors and nurses were pushed aside, left only to watch. In less than half an hour, Emily's room was filled with brand new monitoring equipment. Tubes were reconnected. Medications were replaced with packaging I'd never seen before. Dr. Evans came out and removed his mask. The child's condition is stable for now. We performed emergency interventions. She'll need a series of surgeries, but the chances are very good. My legs gave out, and I almost collapsed. Lucas caught me. His grip was steady, warmth seeping through his sleeve. Thank you, I whispered hoarsely. Thank you. I'll pay you back. I swear, no need. Lucas let go. Just get Emily better. When he said it, his eyes were fixed on the ICU door, not on me. The doctors and nurses treated Lucas with extreme deference. They barely dared to speak loudly. The doctor who'd been cold to me earlier now nodded and bowed. Mrs. Grant, if you need anything at all, please let us know. I wasn't Mrs. Grant, but I didn't have the strength to correct him. Ryan was officially notified by the hospital that he had been removed as Emily's medical decision-maker. He called me, furious. Where did you get that money? Were you cheating on me? I hung up. I blocked his number. Emily's vital signs pulsed steadily on the monitor: heart rate, blood pressure, oxygen levels. Every number shifted from dangerous red to calm green. Too calm, almost unreal. That night, I fell asleep leaning against Emily's bed. I woke up to hushed voices outside the door. It was Dr. Evans and Lucas. The timing has to be exact, Lucas said coldly. Not early, not late. I understand. The recipient on the other side is in excellent condition. We can stick to the plan. Their footsteps faded away. I quietly cracked the door open. At the end of the hallway, Lucas's back disappeared into the elevator. The next day, Lucas handed me a document. Full medical power of attorney. Emily's next stage of treatment is very complicated, he said. I need legal authorization to mobilize all resources. Sign this, and she lives. I picked up the pen. I hesitated. Lucas looked at me. Tracy, what are you doubting? That I'd hurt her? His eyes were calm. I gave you $5 million. I hired the best doctors. And now you're hesitating? I looked at Emily in the hospital bed. Her chest rose and fell gently with each breath. I signed. Lucas put the document away and nodded. Good. After he left, I went to the nurses' station to get a cup of water. 2 nurses were whispering behind the counter. Room 302, the celebrity, Renee. I heard the match was successful, so lucky. Didn't have to wait long at all. They noticed me and immediately stopped talking. Heads down, pretending to work. Room 302, Renee. The woman in my husband's social media photos, smiling in his arms. I held the cup. The hot water burned my hand. I didn't feel it. The surgery was scheduled for 3 days later. Dr. Evans said this was the critical step. If it succeeded, Emily would live. That morning, Emily woke up briefly. She looked at me and whispered, Mommy, I dreamed about eating ice cream. I kissed her forehead. When you get better, Mommy will buy you a huge tub. She smiled, then fell asleep again. I held her hand as they wheeled her into the operating room. The doors closed. The red light came on. I waited outside for 6 hours. Every minute felt like a year. Finally, the doors opened. Dr. Evans walked out. He took off his mask. His face was blank. We did everything we could, he said. There were sudden postoperative complications. The child's heart couldn't hold on. I didn't understand. What do you mean, couldn't hold on? She passed away, Dr. Evans said evenly, like he was reading a report. Please accept our condolences. I shoved past him and ran into the operating room. Emily lay there, covered with a white sheet. Such a small body. I pulled the sheet back. Her face was peaceful, like she was asleep. I touched her hand. Cold. I dropped to my knees. I didn't cry. I couldn't make a sound. The whole world went black. Someone pulled me up. It was Lucas. Tracy, he said softly in my ear. We need to take care of what comes next. What comes next? The funeral, the paperwork, the death certificate. Ryan didn't come. He sent a text, I told you this would happen. Don't contact me again. Renee was discharged the same day. Her photos were all over the news, sunglasses on, glowing complexion, smiling and waving at reporters. The headline read, Actress Renee makes miraculous recovery. Thanks mysterious donor. My Emily was dead. That woman was alive. Lucas handled everything. He chose the burial plot. He arranged the funeral. Very few people came, just a few neighbors. I asked to see Emily's full medical records. The hospital said, the records have been sealed. They involve research data and can't be disclosed. I asked about the details of the surgery. Dr. Evans had been transferred. The nurses claimed they knew nothing. 3 days after the funeral, Lucas came to see me. I was sitting alone in the empty house. Emily's room was untouched. Her dolls were still on the bed. Tracy, Lucas said as he sat down, you can't do this alone. I said nothing. You need a home. He looked at me. I'll give you one. I looked up. Marry me, he said. I stared at him, stunned. Why? You took care of me for 6 years, he said. Now it's my turn to take care of you. He meant high school, when his parents died in a car accident. I stayed with him through the darkest time of his life. But that was so long ago. I don't need pity, I said. It's not pity. He took my hand. It's responsibility. His hand was warm. My fingers were ice cold. I was exhausted, too tired to think, too tired to stand on my own. I nodded. The wedding was quiet. City Hall. I wore a white dress. Lucas wore a suit. When I signed the papers, I saw the date. A familiar date. I'd seen it before. That night, I took out Emily's death certificate. Then I dug up the organ donation brochure the hospital had given me. I'd been in too much pain to read it carefully back then. On the last page, in tiny print, it said, effective date of organ transplant agreement, typically confirmed 1 day before the recipient's surgery. 1 day before the recipient's surgery. That was my wedding day. I sat in the dark, gripping 2 pieces of paper. My marriage certificate, the organ transplant agreement. My daughter was dead. My husband was now Lucas. And another woman, Renee, had been reborn on the same day. 6 years passed. I got pregnant again. The day I found out, I cried. I thought heaven was giving me a second chance. I thought Emily was coming back to me. Lucas's reaction was flat. Good, he said. Take care of yourself. No joy. No hug. He didn't even go with me to my prenatal checkups. I went alone. After the exam, the doctor smiled and said everything looked normal. I went to the restroom. On my way out, I passed the doctor's lounge. The door was slightly open. I heard Lucas's voice. That heart from back then is holding up well in Renee's body. I froze. Another voice answered. It was Dr. Evans. He was back. The rejection period is completely over. Her condition is excellent. What about the child? Lucas asked. Dr. Evans paused. That child wouldn't have lived long anyway. The misdiagnosis just moved the timeline up a bit. We gave her the best possible end-of-life care. Misdiagnosis? End-of-life care? My ears were ringing. I grabbed the wall to stay upright. This child now, Lucas said. Make sure she stays healthy. This is part of the compensation plan. Understood. We'll monitor everything closely. Footsteps moved toward the door. I turned and slipped into the stairwell next door. I sat on the steps, my hands shaking uncontrollably. I thought back to 6 years ago, before Emily went to the ICU. She only had a cold and a fever. Ryan had insisted on taking her to that private hospital. It was the doctors there who suddenly said she had severe congenital heart disease and had to be admitted to the ICU immediately. I thought about how perfectly timed Lucas's appearance had been. I thought about Renee being in the same hospital. I thought about the full medical authorization I'd signed. I thought about the sudden complications after Emily's surgery. I thought about the sealed records. I thought about the wedding date. It wasn't a misdiagnosis. It was murder. My Emily was chosen. Her heart was placed into another woman's body. And my current pregnancy was compensation. I touched my stomach. A chill spread through my entire body. I'm not a wife. I'm a tool, meant to cover up a crime. The day of my prenatal checkup arrived. This time, Lucas came with me. He said he had an important client at the hospital anyway, killing two birds with one stone. We were waiting in the lobby. Then I saw Renee. She was wearing oversized sunglasses, surrounded by fans and reporters. She was a top celebrity now, glowing with health. She saw us. She smiled and walked over. "Lucas." Her voice was sweet. "What a coincidence." Lucas nodded at her. Renee's gaze shifted to me, then dropped to my visibly pregnant belly. "And this is?" She tilted her head, looking innocently curious. Cameras immediately swung toward us. Lucas was silent for 2 seconds. Then he said, "My family's nanny. I brought her along for a prenatal checkup." I froze. Renee smiled. "Oh, the nanny. I thought she didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to." Everyone understood. Fans whispered. Cameras zoomed in on me, my pale face, my plain clothes, my swollen belly. "The nanny is pregnant too?" Someone murmured. "Who knows?" another replied. Renee lifted her hand and casually brushed back her hair. On her wrist was a diamond bracelet. I recognized it. Lucas had brought it home last month, saying it was for me. The next day, he said it was missing, probably misplaced by the staff. Now it was on Renee's wrist. Flashbulbs kept firing. Lucas didn't look at me. He didn't explain. He accepted it. I was the nanny, a pregnant nanny, trying to climb the social ladder. Renee smiled at the cameras. "Everyone, don't misunderstand. Lucas is a very kind person. He treats his employees very well." She turned and walked away, fans swarming after her. The crowd dispersed. I stood there. Lucas glanced at me. "Let's go. It's our turn." His tone was calm, as if nothing had happened. I followed him into the exam room. The doctor was talking. I couldn't hear a word. All I could see was the diamond on Renee's wrist, flashing in my mind. After the exam, we went downstairs. Reporters were waiting at the hospital entrance. They rushed toward us, microphones shoved in my face. "Ma'am, what exactly is your relationship with Mr. Grant? Is the child Mr. Grant's? As a nanny, did you use pregnancy to pressure your employer?" Lucas's bodyguards pushed them back. Lucas shielded me, or rather, shielded my belly, and got me into the car. The door closed. Silence filled the car. I looked at him. "Why?" I asked. "Why what? Why say I'm the nanny? That kind of situation is troublesome to explain," he said, looking out the window. "Renee is a public figure. She can't have scandals. I'm your wife." "I know." He turned back to me, his eyes indifferent. "But other people don't need to know." I placed a hand on my belly. There was a small life moving inside me, and its father had just publicly denied its mother. I watched the city flash past the window. Something inside me shattered completely. The next morning, I told Lucas I was going to a prenatal yoga class. He nodded and had the driver take me. I didn't go to the yoga studio. I went to a clinic far away. The receptionist asked, "Is anyone accompanying you?" "No. The procedure requires a family member's signature." "I'll sign myself." She glanced at me and handed me the forms. I filled them out. Under reason for procedure, I wrote, "Personal choice." The doctor was a middle-aged woman. She asked gently, "Are you sure? The fetus is very healthy." I nodded. "Does your husband know?" "I don't have a husband," I said. She sighed and led me into the operating room. The procedure was quick. I barely felt anything. Afterward, a nurse helped me to the recovery room. "By protocol, the embryonic tissue will be disposed of," she said. "No." I sat up. "I want to keep it." The nurse froze. "It's legally allowed," I said. "I want to take it with me." She hesitated, then went to handle the paperwork. A small sealed container was placed in my hands. I held it and walked out of the clinic. The sunlight was blinding. I took a cab to a law firm. I'd made an appointment with the best divorce lawyer. I brought everything: the marriage certificate, prenatal records, bank statements, and the sealed container. After listening to me, the lawyer's expression turned grave. "Mrs. Grant, what you're alleging is extremely serious. We'll need evidence." "I can get the evidence," I said. "Draft the divorce papers first. My terms: he leaves with nothing. Custody of the child, already terminated, belongs to me, and I want him to publicly acknowledge the marriage." The lawyer nodded. That's possible. But charges like medical fraud and murder will require more documentation. Give me a week. I left the firm and went to a public library. Using a computer, I logged into an anonymous email account. I wrote an email. The recipients were Lucas's company board, several major media outlets, and medical regulatory authorities. The content was simple. Attached were scans of Lucas's forged organ transplant consent form. I'd secretly photographed it from the safe in his study, along with Emily's death certificate and a timeline of Renee's recovery news. But I didn't send it. I scheduled it to be sent 7 days later, at 3 p.m. Then I cleared the browser history. I returned to the villa. Lucas wasn't home. I went into his study and turned on his computer. The password worked on my third try, Renee's birthday. I found much more. Email chains, conversations between him and Dr. Evans, how they selected suitable donors, how they fabricated misdiagnoses, how they controlled timing. I copied everything. I also found financial records, transfers to Renee, jewelry purchases, even payments for her cosmetic procedures. I copied it all. Back in my room, I packed a small suitcase, only essentials, and the sealed container. I went downstairs. A maid saw me. "Madam, are you going out?" "For a walk," I said. I stepped out the front door, and didn't look back. 3 days later, I saw Lucas's face on the news. He was surrounded by reporters outside his company. "Mr. Grant, are reports that your wife has gone missing true? There are rumors of an affair between you and actress Renee that led to your wife's miscarriage and departure. How do you respond?" Lucas's face was ashen as bodyguards rushed him into a car. A notification popped up in my anonymous email account, scheduled email cancelled, because I'd found something more direct and changed my plan. Lucas didn't know that. He thought I only had a little leverage, that I'd make a fuss and come back. On the 4th day, my lawyer contacted him and formally served the divorce papers. Terms: total forfeiture of assets, public acknowledgement of the marriage, compensation for emotional damages. Lucas tore up the agreement on the spot. "She's lost her mind," he told the lawyer. "Tell her that if she comes back now, I'll pretend none of this ever happened." The lawyer relayed the message to me. I replied, "Tell him to check the D drive on his study computer. There's a folder called Backup." That was where he'd hidden his deepest secrets. I'd used his password to unhide the folder, then hidden it again, leaving a clear access record behind. That night, Lucas called. He'd already lost my number, so he called the lawyer instead. His voice was hoarse. "Those files, where did you get them? Your signatures, your emails," I said calmly. "Do you want me to read them out loud?" There was a long silence on the other end. Then he said, "Tracy, let's meet and talk. There's nothing to talk about. Sign the papers. Publicly acknowledge the marriage. Otherwise, tomorrow the entire internet will see everything." I hung up. On the 5th day, Renee called a press conference. She cried beautifully, tears like falling petals. "Mr. Grant and I are just friends. His wife misunderstood and acted impulsively. I feel very sorry for her and hope she returns home soon." Online trolls immediately began steering the narrative. The wife must be mentally unstable, couldn't keep her man, so now she's slandering others? I heard she aborted the baby herself just to frame her husband. I read the comments without getting angry. I logged into a burner account and posted one photo. A close-up of Renee's wrist wearing the diamond bracelet, taken in Lucas's study. His graduation photo was clearly visible on the wall behind her. Caption: "Duja's friends wear jewelry a married man bought for his wife." In his study, late at night, the internet exploded. Netizens started digging. "That bracelet is a limited edition. Grant bought it last month. The study background matches his interview photos exactly. So the wife wasn't a nanny, she was the legal spouse." Public opinion flipped almost instantly. On the 6th day, Lucas's assistant quietly contacted my lawyer. "Mr. Grant is willing to accept all conditions. He just asks that the medical documents not be released." I replied, "Too late. Now I'm adding a condition. Renee must publicly apologize and admit everything. Otherwise, I won't just release the documents, I'll hand all the evidence to the police." The assistant passed the message along. I was told Lucas smashed a glass in his office, but he had no choice. On the 7th day, paparazzi caught Renee entering Lucas's villa. The two of them argued at the gate. Their voices were recorded. Renee screamed, Now you're scared? When you used that little girl's heart to save me, why weren't you scared then? Lucas shouted. Shut up. I won't. That kid wouldn't have lived long anyway. I gave her relief. You should be thanking me. The video was sold to the media. The entire internet blew up. That night, I sat alone in my hotel room, watching the news. On TV, Lucas's face was deathly pale. Renee was surrounded by reporters, sunglasses and a mask failing to hide her panic. My phone buzzed nonstop. Unknown numbers. Media outlets wanting interviews. I didn't answer a single one, but I registered an online account. Username, Emily's mother. I posted a short message. My daughter Emily died at 6 years old. She was misdiagnosed, abandoned, and treated as an organ donor. The woman who received her heart now wears my jewelry and calls me a nanny. I will let the law give me an answer. I want nothing else. No photos. No emotional outbursts. Just facts. It was shared tens of thousands of times within minutes. The internet went insane. People dug up old news from 6 years ago, Emily's death notice, Renee's recovery report from the exact same period. The timelines matched perfectly. They uncovered years of secret photos of Lucas and Renee meeting privately. They exposed the shareholder list of that private hospital. Lucas's name was on it. They dug into Dr. Evans's resume, an organ transplant specialist who had once been investigated for ethical violations. Everything connected. The truth was so dark it made people shudder. This is murder. Using his own daughter's heart to save his mistress? Lower than animals. Renee's endorsement deals dropped her one by one. Her TV drama was postponed indefinitely. Lucas's company stock crashed at opening. The board held an emergency meeting and demanded his resignation. The police released a statement. An official investigation had begun. Relevant parties were summoned. I turned off the TV, drew the curtains, and slept better than I had in years. After the investigation began, Lucas was barred from leaving the country. He went crazy trying to find me. He went everywhere I might be, my old apartment, my parents' graves, they'd passed long ago, my high school. He even went to Emily's grave and waited there all day. I never showed up. He was photographed standing in the rain, soaked through. In the photos, his eyes were sunken, his beard unkempt, he looked like a homeless man. Online comments were merciless. Serves him right. Who's he acting for now? When he abandoned his wife and daughter, he was ice cold. He emailed me long messages. He said he regretted everything, that he never thought it would turn out like this, that Renee had deceived him. He said he'd loved me once, that he missed Emily, that we could still have a future. I didn't reply to a single one. I marked them all as read, then deleted them. A month later, I had my lawyer deliver a package to him. A small cardboard box. No return address. Lucas opened it with shaking hands. Inside was a small sealed container. A handwritten label was attached. Embryonic tissue. Gestational age, 12 weeks. Mother, Tracy Grant. Under the container was a note. Written by me. Just 3 words. Your second child. Lucas collapsed to his knees, clutching the container, sobbing uncontrollably. The housekeeper leaked photos to the media. The internet erupted again, but this time, no one felt sorry for him. The comments were unanimous, crocodile tears. Didn't care when the kids were alive, why cry now? He's not crying for the child. He's crying for himself. After Lucas's breakdown, Renee panicked. She was afraid he'd pin everything on her. She contacted prosecutors, offering to become a cooperating witness. But the prosecution had one condition. They needed hard evidence. Renee asked Lucas to meet, hoping to get him talking on a recording. Lucas went. They got into a huge fight in Renee's apartment. The noise was so loud that neighbors called the police. When the police broke in, Renee was holding a vase over her head, about to smash it at Lucas. She was completely out of control, screaming at the top of her lungs, "You were the one who begged me to fake being sick. You were the one who said your daughter was going to die anyway. That giving me her heart was perfect timing. And now you want to dump everything on me? Dream on." The police recorded everything. Lucas's face went completely gray. As Renee was being led to the police car, she turned back toward the cameras and suddenly laughed. The smile on her face was twisted, unhinged. "You think he's some kind of good man?" she shouted. He knew his daughter wouldn't live long. He didn't even want to pay for her treatment, while his wife was on her knees begging doctors He was drinking with me at a bar. He said it was better if that kid died, said she'd just be a burden. He said Tracy was soft-hearted and easy to fool. Give her a little warmth and she'd obediently do whatever he wanted. He said once everything was over, he'd marry me. She laughed until tears streamed down her face. Look at you all, she sneered. Men are all the same. The footage was submitted to the court. The evidence was overwhelming. The day of the trial, I sat in the very last row of the gallery, wearing a hat and a mask. Lucas was brought in. He saw me. His eyes locked onto me, like I was his last lifeline. The trial was long. One piece of evidence after another was presented. Doctors testified. Nurses testified. Financial records. Email records. And then the video. Renee took the stand. Her mental state was clearly unstable, crying one moment, laughing the next, but she laid out the details with chilling clarity. Lucas's lawyer tried to argue that he'd been coerced by Renee, but the evidence was too solid. During a recess, Lucas broke free from the court officers and rushed toward me. He dropped to his knees. The courtroom fell silent. Every head turned. Tracy, he rasped, his voice barely holding together. I was wrong. I was really wrong. Please, give me one chance. I don't want anything else. I just want you. I took off my mask, looked straight at him. Lucas, I said calmly, I don't owe you anything anymore. He froze. The $5 million you gave me, I used it to set up a medical fund in Emily's name, to help children whose families can't afford treatment. I continued, standing up. The 6 years of marriage you gave me, I've returned to you. The pain you gave me, I've let it go. From today on, you are you, and I am me. I don't hate you, and I don't forgive you. We're even. I turned and walked out of the courtroom. Behind me, he screamed my name. I didn't turn around. Outside the courthouse, the sun was bright. I flagged down a taxi. The driver asked where I was headed. Anywhere, I said. 3 months later, just before the second trial, Renee suffered a sudden mental breakdown in detention and attacked a guard. She was forcibly transferred to a psychiatric hospital for evaluation. On the way, the transport vehicle was involved in a car accident, later ruled to be caused by driver fatigue. Renee was critically injured and rushed to a hospital. By coincidence, it was the same hospital where she'd received her heart transplant 6 years earlier. An even darker coincidence, one of the nurses on duty had assisted in that original surgery. She'd been demoted after a medical scandal and transferred there. On the operating table, Renee went into cardiac arrest due to complications. Resuscitation failed. She died. The news exploded everywhere. Karma! The heart was taken back? What goes around comes around. When Lucas heard the news, he was in detention awaiting final sentencing. He laughed hysterically, laughed until he cried. Then he fell silent for an entire day. The next day, he confessed to everything, including murder. The final verdict came down. Lucas was sentenced to 35 years in prison for medical fraud, document forgery, negligent homicide, and multiple related charges. Renee was dead, no further prosecution. The private hospital's license was revoked. All involved doctors and nurses were charged. Ryan, my ex-husband, was sentenced to 3 years for accepting bribes from Lucas when he signed the consent to withdraw treatment. On the day of sentencing, I went again. I gave my final statement as a witness. Standing at the microphone, I looked out at the courtroom. My daughter Emily was 6 years old when she died. I said, she loved ice cream. She loved pink. She loved sleeping with her dolls. She shouldn't have died. Today's verdict can't change the fact that she's gone. But maybe, just maybe, other children, other mothers, won't have to walk through the same darkness. That's all. I stepped down from the stand. The judge struck the gavel. Court adjourned. The media rushed forward, trying to interview me. Security escorted me away. A reporter shouted, Mrs. Grant, how do you feel now? Do you feel like you've won? I didn't answer. I got into the car and left. I changed my name. I was no longer Tracy Grant. I took back my maiden name, Tracy Miller. Using the assets I received in the divorce, Lucas ultimately signed over most of his property in exchange for me not pursuing additional civil damages. I founded the Emily Miller Children's Medical Foundation. We help children who can't afford medical care, and their mothers. In our first year, we helped 17 children. On the day the 17th child was discharged, His mother carried him to my office. She cried as she thanked me. She said without us, her child would have died. I hugged her. After she left, I stood by the office window, looking down at the street below. Sunlight poured in, warm and gentle. I smiled. For the first time in 6 years, I truly smiled. No burden, no hatred, no fear, just a smile. Another year passed. Spring. I went to see Emily by myself. I brought a small bouquet of pink roses and placed it in front of her headstone. I wiped the photo on the stone. She was smiling sweetly. Mom is doing well now. I whispered. I've helped a lot of children like you. You can rest easy. A light breeze passed through. The petals stirred, as if she were nodding. I stood there for a while, then turned to leave. Outside the cemetery, a car was parked. The window rolled down. It was Ryan. He'd been released from prison and looked much older. He looked at me, his expression complicated. "Tracy," he began. I didn't stop walking. He got out of the car and followed me. I know I don't deserve to say anything, but I regret it. I cut him off. "Ryan," I said, turning to him. "I don't know you." He froze. I kept walking. Ahead of me was the street, the crowd, the sunlight, a new life. I didn't look back at him. I didn't look back toward the prison, either. I don't care how Lucas lives behind bars. I don't care whether anyone cleans Renee's grave. My past is completely behind me. My future is in my own hands. I turned the corner. The smell of coffee drifted out from a cafe. I pushed the door open. "One latte." I told the barista. "Thank you." She was a young woman who smiled and nodded. I found a seat by the window. Outside, people passed by. Everyone had their own story. And at last, I had one that belonged only to me. My name is Tracy Miller. I am a mother. I am the founder of a charitable foundation. I help children. I enjoy the sunlight. I am alive. And I am very, very well.